Today, I'm talking with a top-performing BDR at Nextiva who booked 37 meetings in his first month. Well, Jacob McLeod doubled the previous company record of 18 meetings, and our conversation shows why preparation and organization are game changers to run quickly. In this episode, I'm going to unpack the strategies that helped Jacob succeed so quickly. By the end, you will understand how to crush your onboarding period as a new SDR, starting with how Jacob prepared before day one. Welcome back to the Outbound Kitchen podcast. I'm Eric, the Outbound Chef, and this is your go-to resource for scaling outbound. Let's get cooking. So let's start with when you first heard that the record for meetings booked was 18 on your team. What did you think about this record?
To give you a little bit of background context too, I have been a former college baseball player my entire life. At least the last 4 or 5 years, I've been playing college baseball. So getting into sales was something that was a little bit new for me, but obviously an exciting industry for sure. But yeah, once I stumbled upon this opportunity here at Nextiva, I didn't first hear about the XDR record until the director informed me that I was on pace to kind of tie or beat the record there. But just being the extremely competitive guy I am, and obviously having that sport background, right? I did immediately think that that is something that I could beat and something that I want to beat. But it was mostly for my own self. So I love to like push myself to extreme limits and see how far I really can go. So once I saw that I was on pace and kind of pacing towards that XDR goal, sorry, XDR record, I definitely thought right away that I could beat it and surpass it for sure.
Yeah, because something also you mentioned, and yeah, let's talk about that here too. Is you told me that also in month one you don't have like any expectations term of course it's zero meetings booked on month one, right? Just to confirm that.
The, for the last time we spoke, that was correct. Yeah, we actually just got
Yeah.
informed that because of our hot start, and obviously I was part of that hot start, the ramping period for new hires has been increased by 1 month. So we were able to increase that ramping period by 1 month, and now the expectation for the first month is to be on that 25% of ramp there, 25% of quota.
Okay, gotcha. And for those listening, what's the full quota?
The full quota, as of today, 11/11, is 17 for the mid-market and strategic team and 20 for the expansion team.
Gotcha. So you didn't know about the record until the your director let you know. So let's talk about your strategy. And we can start before day one, because you double basically the previous record of 18. I'm curious. So I imagine if you got the job offer. What was your process between getting your job offer and day one?
Yeah, the process between getting my job offer and day one, I actually reached out to the director and my manager currently right now directly through LinkedIn and wanted to just see if there was any sort of um, proactive kind of tips and tricks that they would recommend that I would kind of study and learn a little bit more in depth with. So I actually reached out to them. They sent over some information, some product knowledge, some tips and tricks, videos to watch, things to look out for in terms of studying all things sales. Right? I mentioned it was my first real big sales job, so wanting to succeed in that was a big part of it. But I did a tons of research and watched tons of videos on YouTube of current SDR, BDR roles, what people did good to exceed quota, some of their tips and tricks that worked for them. But I mean, really just preparing, right? I listened to, and this kind of is first week, second week on the job. I listened to um, tons of our current BDR and SDR phone calls. So learning from them what they currently are doing to find success helped me a ton, right? Knowing talk track for specific products was important. So I know that's a little into the job, but yeah, that was my preparation going into day one. And obviously, once day one came, it was just soak up as much knowledge as possible and try to learn as fast as possible so we can hit those phones.
Gotcha. So here, what I'm hearing, obviously you have the recording from the top performers that you are talking about, and yeah, like you mentioned, maybe you got access to that on day one, so maybe that's coming after that. But basically before day one, I think you have like you focused on the job, so being great at the job, but also focused on Nextiva.
Yeah, definitely a mix of both. Kind of studying Nextiva's product knowledge, right, where they come from a customer standpoint, and then exploring, tips and tricks on how to be a good BDR in general, right? Prospecting tips, following a lot of those industry leaders and learning from them helped me a ton.
Okay, and now let's focus on what you learned from that, both about Nextiva and also about the being great at the role and that that help you in the role after. So could you share with us like a few examples of things that you learn and implement when you started?
Yeah, I think I have some things down here that I wanted to reach out. Obviously, that first week was kind of filled with onboarding tasks and things that just need to be done when you start a new role. But I knew that I couldn't learn product knowledge from a YouTube video, right? You can learn here, you can learn here and there, but really learning internally from the people like our leaders, our teammates. That was extremely important. Some of the things I took from the preparation part was organization, and I actually just hosted a kind of internal meeting with one of my colleagues here at Nextiva, and we went over things that we did specifically to help us in our role right now. And one of them for me was organization. From day one, I mean, I had a pipeline tracker that I was able to go ahead and track every single detail in terms of when I'm reaching out to the customer, what time of day they're in. Right, region of day is extremely important to me. I get in the office around 6:30 to 7 a.m. And I informed some of my colleagues and coworkers here that I'm not going to reach out to someone who's on the west side at 6 to 7:30 a.m., but 6 to 7:30 here might be 9 to 10 a.m. over on the east coast of the United States, and I would find more pickups doing that. So organization in terms of knowing what region each customer and account is in is extremely important for me. But the game plan coming in was always kind of just soak up as much knowledge as possible, leverage my hard work ethic and wanting to be successful in anything that I do, and really just having an open mind, trying to learn from everyone that I come across, whether if they've been in the sales industry for 15 years or if they've been, in the role for a few months. I was always trying to learn from everyone there.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay, so now let's focus on with all this research. Did you have like a plan when you learn? When you launch, when you started your role next year? Or do you have like, oh, okay, this week I'm going to do that, or you were just waiting to see what was the onboarding process, uh, the plan of the onboarding process from next year?
Yeah, I definitely was waiting to see what they had in mind in terms of onboarding. I will tell you, my first week was filled obviously with the onboarding tasks. That Friday afternoon, they wanted to just throw us in the fire and told us to hit the phones right away. And I remember just dripping down, dripping down my armpits with sweat because of how nervous I was to just hit the phones right away, especially with a manager to my right and a manager in front of me to my left. They're going to be listening to the rookie right away. And I was pretty scared and pretty nervous. But I realized that nothing good would come from being scared and being nervous and anxious. So I'm like, let's get right into it. The first few might be a little rusty, and the only way I'm going to learn is getting straight through that. So the first week after that was pretty rough. But I mean, after you get thrown into the fire, extremely helpful. It's just like normal from there.
And I'm curious, so basically, if you hit the phone on day five on your body at the end of the week, or
Yeah, it was a small call block in the afternoon that they wanted to just throw us in, kind of something that we can take through the weekend, right, to sit on and learn from. And then Monday, a few more onboarding tasks and a few more meetings, and then I think we were up and running on that Tuesday or Wednesday.
okay, okay. So now I'm curious because basically, if most of the week was focused on the onboarding. So for week two, did you have like a process of? I imagine you still have the internal onboarding process, but it was. I'm sorry. Let me redo this question. So, for your onboarding, now let's talk about how you manage your time. So, week one sounds like it was really focused on onboarding, and day five, Friday of the week, you started to have like a first session of core course. Week two, did you start to have like 2 hours per day of core coding, or what was the process of week two for on it?
Yeah, that's a great question, and a big thing I touched on before I even started the role was how to organize your day as a BDR. I knew that time is key. and time blocks were extremely key, right? So being efficient is of utmost importance when you're a BDR, SDR. And by week 2, I had a plan going into the day, knowing when and who I would be calling, the accounts I'd be reaching out to, when those call blocks would be. So I would come in between 6:30 and 7, and I'd have a call block between 7:15 and 8 a.m. That would be for my East Coast accounts and East Coast customers, just trying to get them right when they come in the morning. And then around that kind of like 9-ish, 8:30, 9-ish range, all the way up until lunchtime, would be filled with, depending on the day, would be filled with more prospecting, more cold calling, cold emailing, LinkedIn outreach, things like that. Obviously, you take the break, and then I do like to have another cold calling session and warm calling session in the afternoon as well. It might not be as long as that first one in the morning, because 7:15 to 8 could potentially go into 8:30 to 9, right? So that'd be like that 2-hour time block in the morning. Um, but if I did want to double dial someone on a day, and I feel like they were of utmost importance, I would do that if they didn't answer the first time around. I feel like it is extremely key to people throughout the day. But the end of the day was filled with prospecting for the next day. So I would come in the morning and I'd be ready and prepared because of my preparation the day prior. And I think that's what has really helped me succeed so far. I come in, I know who I'm reaching out to right away because I have it on my pipeline tracker and I'm organized and ready to go. Whereas coming in, what am I doing today? Let me go ahead and prospect and do that. So the end of each day is setting up for the next day, just making sure that I'm on track. And I kind of built a good strategy of actually building out my days prior. So 3 to 4 days prior. I think I'm filled up to the end of the week as of now. Today's a Monday, right? Yeah, today's a Monday. I think I'm ready to go for the rest of the week. So just trying to stay organized each day is super important to me.
When you say you are already prepped, so you have your week prep until Thursday, what do you mean on your pipeline tracker? You already know what you do every day, every single day until Thursday?
Yeah, when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about the current customers I plan to reach out to during a specific day, right? So I have a certain list of people that I like to reach out to every single day. And if there's one day where I'm not getting as much pickups and maybe I want to reach out to a few more current accounts and a few more current customers, I will do so. But yeah, I have a brief plan of who I want to reach out to throughout the day and throughout the week.
And it sounds like you mentioned a lot preparation, getting organized. So where did you learn that specifically? Because did you learn that from Nextiva, or did you learn it when you were listening, I don't know, to podcasts or interviews before starting at Nextiva?
Yeah, I listen to a lot of podcasts, a lot of interviews, and a lot of YouTube videos on how to be a good BDR and SDR. I knew I was coming into a great company and wanted to be extremely prepared. But the onboarding here and kind of getting thrown into the fire and learning from my colleagues around me definitely helped my preparation as well. But I would say, learning outside and externally is always a key if you want to be excellent in what you do.
And the pipeline tracker, I'm curious about that. Same here, same question. So did you learn that from Nextiva, or learn that when you were studying?
Yeah, that actually came from my manager, Jacob Hawley. Shout out to him. He helped me out with my first week, set up that pipeline tracker, understand what it would look like, when I'd be reaching out to them, the current MOR that they have in the current assets that they use with us. Um, and that has kind of spearheaded me into the right direction. In the internal kind of meeting that I had with my colleagues and sharing some tips and tricks that helped me, I actually shared that with them, the pipeline tracker, and that we were able to get that going for everyone on the team here. It's kind of an extensive color-coded pipeline tracker that'll just keep you extra organized. So, yeah, Jacob Hawley, the manager over here on the XCR expansion team, was the one who kind of came up with that idea and helped me with that.
And for those who are not familiar with a pipeline tracker, so what do you have on your pipeline tracker? And we don't need to talk about numbers specifically, but it's more how many columns, how fast, what do you have on your tracker?
Yeah, right now it's A to J, so however many numbers and letters that is. But the first column is filled with their name. I obviously have their email, their number, their contact information, the role that they have with the account right now, the account's name that we have in our current CRM, the current monthly recurring revenue, the date in which I reached out to them or plan to reach out to them, if the prospect is in an open working, engaged, qualified, rejected opportunity, and then where I received the lead from. So if it is a current customer, if it is a cold customer if I received them from maybe one of our webinars that we hosted, if I reached out to them via LinkedIn. So just understanding where that lead came from, that really helps me stay organized. And then the very last column is set for notes. So if I have any notes that I have um, on the like brief notes that I have on the call with them when I reach out, I'll go ahead and throw them in there. However, I do have a separate note taking sheet as well to kind of cross reference too.
No, because I know here, because most of the time people think outbound. Because for me, outbound, and this podcast is, we are here to talk about outbound. Outbound is not only to contact call accounts, because most of the time people think outbound is, oh, just you go after an account that doesn't know your company, you call them, and that's it. Here, I know it's not the same. It's not, you're not calling someone, you are calling someone who is a customer. But if you mentioned, you told me that you have like 2,000 accounts on your book of business. I think it's a lot of accounts. So how do you prioritize your accounts? How do you make decision to say, okay, I'm going to call to account A, for example?
Yeah, great question there. And to clarify, I would say about 95% of it is current customers. There are some times where I am cold calling, cold emailing, and obviously we always have to still prospect out, especially for webinars and events that we host. Phoenix event is actually happening tomorrow, 11/12, and then I will be attending a San Diego event from December 9th and 10th in San Diego. So back where I just came from in playing college baseball. So there is a lot of cold outbound stuff too, but most of it is current customers. In terms of handling the accounts and where to kind of spearhead my focus towards, we have recently been tasked with kind of pitching some of our newer products and services. So sifting through obviously high MRR accounts, right? So accounts that spend the most money with us is going to be a priority to any business. But sifting through accounts that have specific assets on the account that can relay to our specific marketing and strategy that we're gearing towards. To give you an example, um, Nextiva recently acquired a company called 3O, and they were a contact center company. We acquired them and created Nextiva Contact Center. And so the expansion team is really focusing on that Nextiva Contact Center and informing our current customers, because a lot of them are just uninformed about what Nextiva has to offer now. And so a good thing to look for in an account would be call center or contact center supervisors, right? A company that already has a contact center would be more likely to um, go ahead and take a meeting and understand the contact center side further than someone who doesn't. However, you obviously can reach out to anyone about some of the newer things we're offering. But yeah, in terms of priority, obviously top spend, certain assets, if there is any sort of high interest or high intent from that account. Maybe they haven't been reached out to in a while and they just need some support, but that's a little bit about how I kind of go about sifting through some of these accounts with my book of business.
Now I'm curious because I've done outbound with some teams on current customers. Do you also use product data? So meaning that are you focusing on accounts who are more engaged with your tool than others, or not yet?
As of now, we don't have anything specific that kind of measures that. However, we have some tools in our CRM where you can go to see, when they've been reached out to, the last time they've been contacted, what they've been contacting about. So there's there is little pieces of data here and there, little nuggets that you can take. But
So now let's focus on the way you booked your meetings. So we are talking, because we are talking about month one. What was the most creative way you booked a meeting during month one?
yeah,
Any
and I
strategy
wanted
that you
to
use?
Yeah, I wanted to shout out one of our team members here. Actually, he does a great job at this. I know within my team specifically, we like to Photoshop photos of our face and the prospect's face on like funny pictures. An example would be like the stepbrothers photo of them kind of, with one on the shoulder like that. But there was a specific team member on our team. His name is Christian. Shout out to you, Christian. He does a great job and makes the team laugh with some of the photos he creates. But he will obviously take a photo of himself, like his face, Photoshop it onto the stepbrother, and then the other prospect is the other stepbrother, right? So sometimes they find it creepy. Sometimes they take the meeting simply because it made them laugh, it made their day, it made them smile. And actually, I want to see if I can pull it up here. The prospect right here that Christian reached out to said she isn't sure if she should laugh or be frightened, but she is going to choose the meeting just to thank him for being so unique and because it brought joy to her day. So I thought that was extremely uh, not only funny but effective, right? In the way that he does outreach. I've tried a few times with some photoshopping images, and I've got I've gotten okay feedback. I mean, sometimes it's just takes a little bit too much time for my liking. But definitely ways of getting creative like that are extremely important. I remember doing something similar. I don't think it was with Step Bros. I think it was with I don't remember the actual image, but it was something similar along of like photoshopping um, photos of myself and the prospect in a certain image and being like, "Hey, this could be us if you take a meeting." I think it was like us on vacation or something. And I did that through LinkedIn, and I got a meeting through that, which was pretty interesting. But I wanted to shout out our teammate Christian because he does a great job at putting those together, and he gets some funny feedback and funny traction as well. I know that we recently talked about Will, who you call the hot dog man on LinkedIn, and he does a great job at, being unique and having some funny ways to reach out to prospects. There was one that Will I think mentioned in one of his episodes as well, but AI generated songs. So that is extremely interesting to me. And putting it together a song and sending it over and being like, hey, I created this song for you through AI, I think is extremely useful as well. I was able to book one meeting through AI generated songs within my first 2 weeks, which was pretty cool. But yeah, just trying to get extremely unique and creative when it comes to your outbound process will help you stand out for sure.
Okay, so let's unpack a bit what you just mentioned here. So let's start with AI. You just mentioned AI song. So you use that. So but where do you use that? Do you send that via an email, via LinkedIn, or what was your process?
Yeah, I would outreach through both of those. So I use LinkedIn and email. The specific meeting that I booked was via email. So I just went ahead and I said, I think the subject line was like, "Hey, I created this for you." They open it up. It's the link to the song that I created. They click on it, and it's kind of just a funny, upbeat kind of song talking about how I've been looking to get a hold of them and explain a little bit about their business and our business in the song. And it's pretty cool. You can go on there. You can type in, kind of give it a prompt, almost like a chat GPT, and it'll kind of generate a song for you. But yeah, just trying to get creative in any way possible, especially those first few weeks on the floor.
And let's talk about the image one also. Same. Do you use it on email or LinkedIn? Well, you said, well, you said, well, you give an example of using LinkedIn, but do you also send that via email?
I have sent that via email. Yes.
Okay. 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 Okay, and now let's talk about the meeting you are the most proud of. Could you share the story about this meeting? What was your process to book this meeting?
Yeah, out of all the meetings I booked, I think the one that I'm most proud of was Pfizer. They are a massive pharmaceutical and biotech corporation. One of their project managers was actually exploring Nextiva and filled out a inbound request on our website. However, I was unable to get a hold of him. I think the contact information he provided was incorrect. So, given that they were a hot account that was looking for some sort of omni-channel cloud-based solution, I went ahead and did some more research on LinkedIn and, given that it was a massive opportunity, I just prospected a ton externally. So I was able to find a little bit more parties through LinkedIn and was able to get their entire digital innovation team on a meeting. That meeting actually, I think it was middle of October that it held, that we were in contact with. But yeah,
Mhm.
passed it over to a account executive, sat on the meeting with them. I think we had a few of our higher executives on the call as well, given how massive of an opportunity it was. But yeah, Pfizer to date is one of the biggest ones, that I'm definitely most proud of.
That and Pfizer, it's a pretty good logo because it's a Fortune 500, so that's pretty big.
20%.
I'm curious about this one specifically. So you said that the person wanted to book a demo. You tried to contact this person. This account, for example, it's massive. So how did you think about getting this meeting? Because you can this account. I don't know how many employees they have, but maybe more than 100,000 employees. So what was your process to know who to contact at the account?
Yeah, they have a massive, company like you mentioned, right? So, um, definitely being tailored in my outreach when it comes to, who to reach out to is extremely important. I definitely utilize, like, LinkedIn Sales Nav and LinkedIn itself to go ahead and filter through and find specific keywords and, specific, job titles that would go ahead and prospect out to. I think the, initial person who requested a form was, like, a digital innovation team lead or something like that. So I kinda went off of that given that I wanted to find people that he was working with in his similar team, right? So I was able to go ahead and get him as well as I think 3 other additional parties on the meeting due to just simple LinkedIn sales nav outreach with keywords. Obviously, threw in the Pfizer as the company for the filter. But yeah, keywords and sifting through them, making a few phone calls here and there, and understanding their interest further was of utmost importance. Obviously, with an account that big.
Before we go to the last question of the interview, I just have like another question that I forgot to ask you. But
Mhm.
how did you when you join Nextiva? I know being organized, it's of your priority when you join. Did you set specific goals when you join? So meaning that how many prospects you want to contact every day, how many calls you need to make, or how many meetings? What was your thought process on this?
Yeah, so we actually had goals that we had to attain when we first came in here. So we had a certain amount of daily calls that we needed to hit, a certain amount of daily meetings, as well as weekly calls and weekly meetings, and obviously the quota as well. But we have one-on-one time with our managers every week to make sure we are pacing towards those goals, making sure we're meeting them and reaching them. When I first came in, given that it was a first sales role, I didn't have any sort of expectations in terms of how many calls or how many emails that I wanted to hit. I just knew that I wanted to come in, soak up as much information as possible, and really just be the best personally, right? I didn't really have anyone to go up against because I was so new and because I was so new to the industry and the team in general. Obviously, the seasoned vets on the team were great, and I wanted to learn from the greatest on the team. So I really just came in, kinda stayed quiet, just tried to soak up as much information as possible, and really just, took my opportunity and ran from there.
Nice. And so, could you share because you said they give you like specific goals. Did you have like a goal of like 50 activities a day, or what was? Can you share that?
Yeah, yeah, it changes, depending on what team you're on. I will say the expansion team, when we first came in was around 50 calls a day. Our goal was around 25 dials before, 10 AM. I think that was, extremely attainable for the entire team. But yeah, I wanna say it's 50 calls a day. You have, like, LinkedIn tasks and email tasks as well throughout the day, but I don't know the specific number. Um, given I think with the outreach that you currently have, those goals are easily attainable and should be exceeded, especially if you want to be an SDR who is obviously exceeding quota every month and meeting quota. So
Yeah. And did you when you see you get one sec. When you got those 50 days there as a goal, did you say, okay, I want to to do this, or do I don't know 2x those numbers, or what was your
Definitely, I could definitely see, translation towards more calls into more meetings, right? So, I mean, it comes down to volume, right? So, I think it comes down to catered volume. So, knowing when to call throughout the day, I think I mentioned that earlier, is
yeah.
extremely important. But yeah, I definitely could see some translation to more calls, translating into more meetings. I didn't have a specific amount that I wanted to hit, but I did know that I wanted to exceed 50 every single day, given that more calls would equal more meetings. And I was able to go ahead and pull. I want to go ahead and share this real quick. I was able to pull a report. Um, my first week here on the roll, I was able to book 5 meetings. Second was 9, third was 15, fourth was 18. When I look at the translation from meeting sets to call volume, both increase in tandem with each other, right? So I mean, the numbers don't lie, and I think that as you increase your call volume, the likelihood of booking a meeting is obviously higher as well. So it's kind of self-explanatory, but I thought that's some cool data to show and look at.
No, I think that's good data, but also, yeah, no, volume, I know, for early days also when you are new to a role, volume is important because like you are saying, you are pretty new on the role and you want to learn also how to call calls, and obviously volume help with that. Sometimes volume doesn't translate into more meetings at some point, when your conversion rate is super high, because sometimes if you
Mhm.
do more calls than you're supposed to, sometimes your conversion rate will drop. So
Yeah.
here, because we're talking about onboarding, and that's why I think volume in the onboarding process is super important.
Hmm.
So it's key. Not
Yeah.
let's focus on also on you specifically. So you got like 37 meetings in month one. Now we are already on month four for you. So how do you keep pushing yourself, and what keeps you motivated to continue excelling your?
Yeah, 100%. I took some numbers back too because I was curious when you asked me. The first month was 47 opportunities created. 37 of those moved to stage one. That's where I got the 37 number from. I just ended October with 49. So I went from 47 to 49, trying to stay consistent there. But I think, following up, if you book a high amount of meetings and then following up the next month with nothing it just makes no sense, right? So staying extremely consistent is of utmost importance to me. During my time at baseball, I ran into multiple people in terms of, I'm not sure how much you're aware with baseball and batting averages, but a lot of them would start the year on fire and extremely hot, right? Hitting the ball really well, hitting home runs, leading the team in every single category. But kind of by the end of the year, their hot streak almost fizzled out and they ended up kind of, starting to go downhill. But then when I looked at some of my numbers, I would start off the year kind of slow, not too crazy. But as we went out through the year, I was just slowly increasing. And a big quote that I mentioned to my manager is, and it might sound cliche, but it's not about how you start, but how you finish, right? So you could start extremely hot, but it's not going to matter if you don't finish extremely hot, right? So being consistent is super important to me. But staying motivated, I mean, I think it stems straight from my parents, right? They work their butts off every single day to provide for me and my family, and they're some of the hardest people that I know working out there. So um, I also stay, consistently motivated by my fiance. She's a business owner herself and is always inspiring me to do better. So kind of just filled with the right people, the right support system, but also internally, I have tons of high goals and aspirations for myself for the future. And I think the current role I'm in is only going to spearhead me kind of towards those goals over there. So yeah, just internal drive, internal motivation, probably stemming from sports, which comes from my parents and the support system around me, my sister, my family, things like that. So they definitely keep me motivated every single day when I wake up. So
And now let's focus on you and your habits. For the key habits that you think help you succeed and help you succeed in your role. Obviously, I have one in mind. Obviously, being organized, that's one. But what else?
yeah, I have a few down here too. So, like you mentioned, organizing your day for the next day prior is extremely important to me. Multiple touch points and points of contact. There's a great outbound leader on our team, Jacob Tuttle, um, who does a great job at outbounding and prospecting to multiple points of contacts in the account and really converging them all together before a meeting is set. And I think that's extremely important because not only does it get internal communications for them, but if you can get multiple points of contact and multiple points of interest and kind of converge them together before a meeting is set, it's only going to lead to higher uh, stages moving forward in terms of opportunity. So it's good when you see multiple parties on the call, right? So for example, the Pfizer opportunity, if I was able to get 4 or 5 of them on the call, I knew that opportunity was going to be more important for that team specifically, given that there's more people on the call compared to just one, right? So that's big for me. Looking at email opens, we have a way we can track to see if someone opened an email, if they viewed it, if they clicked the link, kind of how long they've been on that email thread. That I think is extremely important as well, because if you see that someone is opening your email, clicking around, you can see how many times they opened it. So there's a few times where some prospects will open an email 9 to 20 times, and you're like, okay, they're opening it multiple times for a reason, right? So if you can call them right away and understand why they're opening it and explore their interest further, that was extremely important. And then the last point I have here is high drive to be the best personally. I think this stems from me showing up a little bit earlier in the office to try and get ahead of the game. They say early bird beats the worm, right? So just trying to be the best personally, I think will stem off into my team in having me be the best for the people that are around me.
Now, for the listeners who are here to listen to this episode, let's talk about those people who are going to start in a new role. So, do you have any tips you want to share with them that help you succeed at your role?
Yeah, a big one I put down is to not I know when you think of sales, to some of the new people that are out there and starting the roles, when you think of sales, you think of hitting numbers and things like that. But one piece of advice I wish someone had given me when I first started was to not focus on hitting the numbers specifically, but focus on building relationships. Sales is a lot about relationships. People buy from people that they like. It's really easy to get caught up in the metrics, but having a good understanding of the prospects' interests, their needs, genuinely helping them and solving a problem is a lot more important than just being like, okay, book this meeting with me because I need to hit quota. So really understanding them personally is something that is super important in my opinion. And I'm really starting to realize how important it is and how far it can go. Networking in general obviously is extremely important too, but being your authentic self and outreach will lead to better connections, trust, and things like that. And it'll ultimately lead to longer term success, right? Not just short term wins. In the long run, it'll only do you justice. So be genuine, build those relationships, and understand that sales is more than just a numbers game.
And now for you specifically, so with all the success you're already getting Nextiva, what are your goals now? Are you focused on setting new records or already thinking about your promotion? Or
Yeah,
internal promotion?
yeah, yeah. That actually is funny you mentioned that. That is a obviously someone who is striving to be higher. That is someone or something that is in my mind a lot. But I have to remember to stay humble and things like that. But I have multiple goals that I'm aiming to achieve, both short term and long term. Obviously, staying consistent is super important to me. But really finding those big logos and hunting those big logos like Pfizer is something that is super important to me. The more big logos we can get as a company, the better everyone does. We're actually focusing on lunch and learn opportunities here on the expansion team. So bringing in our current customers that are of high value into our current office here in Scottsdale, the Scottsdale HQ in Arizona, and kind of doing a lunch and learn with them. So understanding what they like about Nextiva, paying for their lunch, obviously sitting down with them, building some marketing campaigns around that. That's super important. And then as of recent, obviously the San Diego event, the Customer Experience Summit, December 9th and 10th in San Diego is going to be something that I'm really eager to look forward to. I'm really excited to go to that event in San Diego. The roots where I just was the last 2 years, but yeah, continuing to stay consistent, crush my numbers, and ultimately move into a manager type role if it presents itself. That'll be something that is extremely important to me moving forward.
Jacob, thank you so much for being on the show today. Before we wrap up, where people can find you online, LinkedIn, or do you have like something else you want to share?
Yeah, I have a LinkedIn on that. My name on there is Jacob McLeod. I know it looks like McLeod or McLeod, but it is pronounced McLeod, like the clouds in the sky. So yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn there. I'll go ahead and I'll probably share this podcast as well, this episode on LinkedIn. But yeah, that is the best place you can find me.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being on the show, and for everyone listening, I'll see you on the next episode. If you find this episode with Jacob useful and want to learn from other top performers or to build a strong outbound culture at your company, you might enjoy my newsletter, Outbound Kitchen. You get a free version every Sunday, and there is a paid version where you receive more in-depth content. I sent 8 already. The last one was the SDR hiring recipe, how to attract and hire top outbound talent. The one before, 9 cold message frameworks deconstructed, why they work and how you can use them. And before that was the guide to building an enterprise prospecting system. The next one will be on Snowflake, and it's behind Snowflake Outbound Engine, 3 billion in ARR. If you're interested, subscribe using the link in the description.